Hi folks, I'm on the farm of Sarah McCaughern here. Sarah, thanks very much for having me. I've come up to take a look at some ram lambs. I think we might have one picked out. But I thought this would be a good opportunity just to talk to one of the younger farmers I know and get her experience and her vast wealth of knowledge on sheep farming and other things. Yeah, so do you want to tell us a bit about yourself, Sarah?
Yeah, we're McCaughern shedders farming over 250 acres, about 500 ewes now, and still expanding. There's one fella said to me, "You're not only the youngest farmer I know, you're the only farmer I know that's expanding in the current climate." So yeah, 500 EasyCare ewes, bred out of a Texel base. Folk think to look at them that I'm having them on and that they're only 2 or 3 generations away from the Texel, but they're not.
No, you can see that there's a lot of EasyCare there for sure.
Trying to breed, trying to get a good balance. There are, I think of my rams as like a toolkit. Every ram is for a different thing. Some of my rams have more Texel in them, and they're the terminal sires. They're the ones that will breed my commercial shedding lambs to look nice in a live ring without the inputs. And then there's my maternal sheep for breeding my ewe lambs for men, and there's those sheep that are just nice. They're nicely balanced. Everything's just like the one Josh got.
It's pretty.
You
pretty
can tell
good.
the camera how good he is.
Oh, absolutely. I'll show some footage of him there, but he's been picked out of a fairly nice bunch of ram lambs, so you know there was a lot of selection there, and you're selling a few at the moment. So if people are interested,
yeah,
they can contact you.
We do have a pen set up. If anyone is interested, we have our McCaughern Shedders Facebook page. You might have to try a few variations of how to spell McCaughern before Facebook will give it to you, which I didn't realise when I set that
I'll
up.
find it and stick in a link. people can click on it then, yeah. So how long have you been farming here, both you and your family, and what led you into farming yourself?
This farm we've been on, my great-grandfather bought it. He was a linen man, so this was in, what do you call it? Flax. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Flax. So all the fields here were used for flax, and then we were on barley, and then we were on sucklers, up to my father's time, and then he got fed up and went out and brought EasyCares. So
very good.
So we brought the EasyCares, and we were like, I'm not quite sure on the timeline. It was around the same time as it was the first ram Stephen Johnston brought in. We brought one ram off him at the same time as Campbell, so it was the early 2000s or so it must be 20 years now.
Yeah.
And yeah, they just settled our system. Because we only have 40 acres here and then all our ground's away.
Okay.
We need sheep that we don't see.
Yeah, they need to look after themselves really.
Yeah, like we need sheep that, and especially our winter grazing is worse, like all down beside the barn, wet, hard trek down to them. I don't want to see them more than 2 or 3 times over the winter. And like a lot of folk ask, like especially like Texel men or that, they go, "Oh, but your mortality must be so high when you're only seeing those sheep like 3 times over a winter." And I think most years we only lose 1.
Yeah, which is very good.
It is, especially on like the ground they're on. Yeah. Like we're dry here, but once you head about half a mile in that direction, it's fairly.
Yeah, I need to get the waders on.
Yeah, you will sink.
So talk to me about like young farmers in particular. You're fairly young. I guess what are the opportunities for young farmers at the moment, like for getting into farming, and what are some of the challenges you've seen?
I think with young farmers at the minute, the outlook, it's very easy to say the outlook is very dim. Like you get into it and the costs are too high and the working hours are too long, and like every night this week even I've worked from 8 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock at night. Well, that if I were to put my hours and labour onto like a sheet and give myself the money for those hours, £15 an hour, whatever it is. Like, no, I won't make money.
Yeah.
That's just it. But I mean, there is hope, mostly because in a system like mine, I can make money because my inputs are low, my sheep are good. Like at lambing time, because the weather was good, the only veterinary input I had apart from vaccinations was £35 for a can of Valamycin spray and a bottle of Valamycin.
Yeah.
And like at that point you're making money.
It's very low. It's a lot less than I did. Like I had higher mortality this year myself. Some of the ewes just did silly things and had a prolapse. I had 2 prolapses, one survived, one didn't. Yeah, so I'm weeding that out, but that my vet bill was definitely a lot higher than what you have, so that's a credit to your sheep.
And the main thing is for young farmers is getting into it without debt.
Yeah.
Which is difficult, and there's pressure there because you get this yard that needs fixed and you look at all these dairymen with the big tractors and the big sheds and you go, I need that, I want that. And no, you don't need that.
Well, I'll admit to having a bit of shed envy. The sheds we have at home are nothing on what Sarah has here, and you know we still have a loan on the farm from buying it, but it's not even simple on the inheritance front with the recent changes in inheritance law.
No. I'm lucky enough on the inheritance front that if worst comes to worst, like I'm not going to lie and stand here and say, oh, there's no money to pay that. Like, I'm a generational farmer. Like, obviously there's money back there somewhere.
No.
But at the same time, as a young farmer, like, I shouldn't have to run back to my dad after building something up myself and go, oh, but can you give me the money to pay this inheritance tax? You know, like that just kind of, after you've built something up yourself, you know, it does something to your head to have to go back and go, can I have some money, or can I sell off a site or some ground, or, you know, but at the same time, it is what it is, and we don't know. Politics is changing all the time, and we don't know in 7, 8, 5 years if we'll still have to pay that inheritance tax.
Yeah.
So like, there's no point in worrying about it until it hits you.
No, and hopefully that will be sorted out, because farming is tough enough at the best of times, and having extra pressures like that it just really creates a very difficult situation for a lot of people, and we really need younger people getting into farming more than ever, I think. Like I'm still classed as a young farmer, just about.
Well, I think is the average age of a farmer not 60? It's bound to be more than that.
It's pretty high, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like mid-50s or 60s or something. I'd have to look.
Yeah, I always say, like, there was enough against me being a young farmer and a woman.
Yeah.
That was just you still get men coming into the yard and going, is your dad out? No. And is your brother not farming? No, he's a PhD in agriculture and he's not interested, he has his own thing.
Yeah.
Really? And they sort of look at you like you've grown 2 heads.
Yeah. I can understand a little bit of that, but like having seen how people interact with women farmers, I don't get it. It's like if you have an interest in farming, great, go do it. If you don't do it. But it's clear to see, like, you have a huge interest here. You're doing some performance recording in the flock. You know, the sheep are a real credit to you. So, you know, well, why not? You know.
When I first got it, I don't know if I've mentioned on the camera that my father had a stroke a week before lambing, and then I had 400 ewes to lamb down.
Wow.
And like, my father had a good system in place, but it wasn't a great system. And that's not on him. That was just because he was getting older, he wasn't well enough, and once you get to that stage, you know, like, improvement sort of stops. That's the problem with some of these, like the average age of a farmer being 60, and then maybe no one coming up behind them, is it doesn't offer any chance for improvement, because those farmers don't want to improve, they're happy where they're at.
Yeah.
So once you get young farmers coming in, that have maybe been through agricultural college and, you know, been online reading about all these other systems, you start to get improvement coming in, because they're the ones that want to drive change rather than, you know, just sit where you're at.
And I think, like, there's something really good if you can have young and old generations working together, where the older generation will have a lot of experience and the younger coming in with the new ideas and just trying things out and seeing what works.
Yeah, like that was the main thing when I first started. Like, I tortured my neighbours with like ringing them up and going, oh, is this a good idea, or should I be doing this?
Yeah.
And like, I didn't necessarily, like, some of the things I'm doing, like with the pigs, like with letting the pigs graze, the cooney pigs graze, and fertilise the old swards as they go along.
Which is pretty unconventional.
It's unconventional even for an unconventional farmer. Like, even in the world of regenerative farming, that's a little bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. Like,
Yeah.
And I remember talking to an older neighbour, and I went, Sarah, that field needs lime. Like, you need to lime that.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, that was my second year farming, and I could no more afford the lime for it than fly through the air.
Yeah.
And I had looked up some like PhD research or something that pig dung can raise the pH of a field, and I threw them on it thinking this'll either work or I'll still have a shit field.
Yeah.
And after it took about 6 months before it went from brown to sort of not quite as good as this,
Yeah.
but you know, it got me up to the point where I could get away with it.
Yeah, you could see a market improvement on
yeah.
it. Yeah.
And then that's gotten me to the point now, 2 years later, where now I can afford lime, but I've still managed to get something out of that field.
Brilliant.
Whereas beforehand, I was stuck.
Yeah.
You know? So sometimes, and that neighbour goes to me, like, I said to him one day, and this was actually when the pig ended up in his yard.
Oh.
And we ended up in conversation, and I said, oh yeah, does it still need lime, do you think? And he went, still needs lime, but maybe not as bad, and he sort of grumbled it. And like, you can't crow, you can't go, oh yeah, I know I was right.
Yeah.
You just sort of...
Well, it's about like taking a chance and trying something out, and if it doesn't work, well, you've learned something, and if it does work, well, you've learned something and you've got a benefit.
Yeah, and like, admit when you've made your mistakes.
Absolutely.
Like, I have done some things that were rubbish. I remember breeding the Beltex in to the EasyCares, and we thought we were going to make this big double muscle terminal sire.
Yep.
Wrong direction. Because what I didn't realise at that time, that's some rich person who
Clearly don't realise we're doing a pilot.
I tell you, the SAS used to trail up on that mountain with their searchlights, and they would come down on me for fun.
Wow.
Until I went to that one day. No, what was I saying? The Beltex was that extreme sheep. I learnt never to go for extremes. Not extreme length, not extreme bag ends. Extremes are bad. Because once you breed that double muscling in, their organs are smaller to fit in that muscle. And then you get sheep walking in and dropping over dead from heart attacks. And like, it's alright to walk back from that and go, I made a mistake. No, it's not right. There's no shame in that.
But like, if you can't admit you've made a mistake, you're not going to learn from it to improve. Like, I've made plenty of mistakes. I remember in the first year of farming a couple of years back, I put in what was to be a summer cover crop because the land was all in tillage before, and I wanted to put a bit of heart into it. So I spent about €2,000 on the contractor and the seed, and a couple of the herbs and varieties came up, but it was like a cold and wet April and May, and you know, it was pretty much like $2,000 down the drain. So I said, okay, I'll definitely approach that differently next time. And then after that, I put in the grass. But yeah, it's quite easy to make some fairly expensive mistakes, but if you learn from them, I think you're moving forward.
I think the worst mistake I made was when we grazed solar ground, and when I was offered that solar ground, I went, oh, I'll just get the numbers up, I'll do anything to get the numbers up, just fling it up. Because to me, as a young farmer, it was a numbers game.
Yeah.
I was thinking, if I have 500 ewes, that rent is spread out across this many ewes, as opposed to if I have 400. In my head, that's the way it went. And then I flung the ewe numbers up without actually looking at the quality of the sheep I was using to put the numbers up. And then the next year was looking at these rubbish hogs walking around and went, and then had to call right back again because I kept rubbish.
Yeah.
And now I know that 500 excellent ewes are worth a hell of a lot more than 500 so-so ewes.
Totally. Well, there's less work and they grow better. They're better from a functional point of view. I kind of had the same. Like in the first year, I kept all of the ewe lambs.
Yeah.
Because I said, right, I have to get the numbers up a little bit, and yeah, there's ones I'll have to cull out. Maybe poor feed issues and maybe not shedding as well as I'd like, or poor milk. So yeah, it definitely pays to be picky and to be trying to buy in the best genetics you can. That's why I was quite impressed by the different posts you do on Facebook and that, and we also have an EasyCare discussion group, and you can see the quality of the stock. And I came here last year just I was visiting a few farms just out of interest, and so I'm back here to buy. So yeah, I'm impressed with what you have here, so well done.
Well, hopefully my ram lamb does well for you.
Hopefully, yeah. Well, I'll test them. I'll record them with Chief Ireland. And
there's be a video up next year of just, this was the worst ram lamb I've ever
No.
brought in my
Well, like
life.
the way I see it is like, yeah, there's obviously good and bad sheep, and sometimes you just don't know. But I try to, as far as possible, if I have something to say, it should be positive and should be helping people. And
well, like, I like to know how my stock do.
Yeah.
Even if it is bad, like, I don't want to hear it, but I want to know about it, because then I can go off and work on it.
Yeah.
Like, there was a fella last year I sold ewe lambs to, got back to me, and one ewe lamb had been a triplet, and that tells me dial back on prolificacy quite a bit.
Yeah.
See that line that ewe lamb was out of, where her daddy and her granddaddy and her grandfather are all triplets? Maybe not a good idea. Pick a single out of that line next.
For like an outdoor lambing system, yeah, triplets are harder work.
1.75 for an outdoor lambing system is.
Well, I was pretty lucky in that I scanned at, was it 1.92 or 3 in the older ewes, and I had only 2 sets of triplets. That's ideal, but I don't count on that always happen going forward. So yeah, I think 1.7, 1.8, somewhere around that. Ideally, lambs weaned would be the sweet spot. It takes a bit of work to get to that, I think.
It does, and it's difficult as well, because you want to dial up your prolificacy, but you can go overboard so quickly.
Yeah.
Like a couple of years ago, I was down in prolificacy. That was one of my main issues, and I don't understand quite how that happened, because I was buying rams off twins all the time. Like, we're a closed flock, have been for 20 years, but we buy in 1 ram a year.
Yep.
And our prolificacy was still going down, and I think the issue was we weren't recording, so we were looking at a ewe lamb and thinking she was a twin and keeping her back.
Yeah.
But in all likelihood, she wasn't.
Yeah.
That's the only reason that could be going backwards after you've tried everything nutrition wise and feeding wise pre-lambing. And to be fair, once we've started recording, everything's gone up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you just have so much more control over the stock that you keep.
Yeah. Well, you have that kind of bit of information about what you're breeding, and I found the same. Like the first year, I took some notes, and I more or less matched up the ewes to the lambs, but I didn't. I think I took 1 set of weights towards, like the end of August or September or something. So I had no idea like what ewes were good with milk, or what lambs grew well up to weaning. And since I started recording, you can pick out the good sheep pretty quickly, but more importantly, you can pick out the poor ones and kind of improve your flock that way.
Yeah, the main issue we found was getting that recording done with so many ewes and so many places, which is why I've been telling you it's a bit mishmash at the minute. We have lots of data on some sheep and then hardly any or none at all on other sheep, so then that's why we have our A flock of 50-60 ewes that we're just going to focus in on recording, that I can put out to this field here, out beside the yard, record the lambs that go by, and just have that core stock, because like one person against 500 ewes is enough without tagging it away and everything. That's just
Totally,
not
yeah.
gonna happen.
And like it has to be practical, like, because the aim of the game, with farming is it's a long-term game. To be able to stay in it, it has to be easy to manage. And like I've kind of, what did I lamb down, about 45 ewes this year. I'll probably be up on around 70 next year, and I'm happy enough doing the level of recording, but there's a lot of work in it. Particularly at lambing, because you're making sure that the lambs are okay, but then you're tagging them, you're weighing them, you're recording all the details about the birth, any issues that might have cropped up. You're doing, like with Sheep Ireland anyway, you're doing the 40, the 100 and the 150 day weights during the year. So and there's a lot of other recording, DAG scores, and I do shedding scores, so there's lots of information you can do, but it has to be practical, and you have to have an easy way of doing it, I think.
Yeah, we're just sort of keeping it down to like the bare minimum at the minute, just lamb vigor, milk, laminies, and then trying to get the weights in as much as possible. Sometimes it's hard with the weighing, because if something happens that your weights go back, you don't want to weigh them.
Yeah.
It's a very mental thing, I'm finding, is even if they're going backwards, I need to get these in and weigh them.
Yeah. Because it is like, you always want your sheep to be doing well, and then when it comes in and something's lost a bit of weight, or it's just stayed stagnant, like, oh great. So like, yeah, I try to view that as, okay, that sheep isn't doing well, I'll take that as an opportunity to note that, and maybe not breathe from that, but it can be a tougher thing to deal with when
it's not a setback, it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
It's like that drought, and that drought, whenever this was brown and down to the bottom, anything that was putting on weight, excellent sheep.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know that without.
Yeah, I think that's probably when you find the best sheep, at those maybe weather extremes where it's either quite hot and dry, or cold and wet, and thunder and lightning, and
the last 2 years in the rain, like anything that could lamb out in the rain last year, excellent sheep.
Yeah, probably not too bad if they can manage all of that. Yeah, I was thinking of the same. Well, I guess we'll probably leave it there for now. We've probably talked quite a bit, but any other things you want to put in?
Not really. I'll probably think of something deadly important after this is done. I don't know.
Yeah, cool. I'll sure send it on anyway, and I might be up again. Well, yeah, thanks for watching. If you've got to this point in the video, well done.
Buy EasyCare.
Yeah, and check out EasyCare's.
Specifically mine.
Yeah.
We'll show you lots of nice videos of them now.
Yeah, well, I'll overlay a couple of videos on top of that, so it's not just us talking for 20 or 30 minutes or however long we're going.
You might need a lot of cuts in this, to be fair.
That's okay. Yeah, so thanks again for watching, and we'll see you soon. Bye. How does he take to strangers?
He sort of has to come up and stare you in the eye for a minute and test your metal, and then he's down your bottle.